Welcome back to the Coaching Lab podcast. We've all heard peak performance is all in your head, but today's guest invested time mapping where that headspace actually lives. Dr. Izzy Justice is a world-renowned sports neuroscientist who notes he has analyzed over 18,000 EEG brain scans to uncover a startling truth. There is a specific frequency, 10 hertz, where elite performance becomes effortless. He's the author of a book I've got sitting right here with me. I just finished it, Life Explained, Chasing 10 Hertz. And he's here to show us that confidence isn't just a feeling. It's actually an electrical state. Today, we're diving into the neurohacks that allow you to downshift your brain from stress to success in seconds. If you're new to the show, I'm Dr. Brad Cooper, CEO of Catalyst Coaching, the nation's top-rated MBHWC-approved health, wellness, performance coaching training institute. We've been training coaches since 2007. So whether you're considering certification or you're already coaching and want a strong professional community, we'd love to connect. Reach out anytime, results at catalystcoachinginstitute.com. We'll set up some time. And now, it's time to explore how we can chase 10 hertz with Dr. Izzy Justice on the latest episode of the Coaching Lab podcast. Izzy, so good to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us here on the Coaching Lab podcast.
Brad, thank you so much for having me. I look forward to connecting with you and speaking to your audience. Thank you.
I've got your book here, Life Explained, Chasing 10 Hertz. Let's jump right into this 10 hertz concept. You talk about the green state discovery. You looked at 18,000 EEGs in athletes. And what was that aha moment when you went, wait a minute, it's 10. It's not 8. It's not 12. What was that like? How did that come about? Walk us through that process.
Yeah, let me go back. And this right off the bat might be one of those rabbit holes that you were just talking about earlier with me.
Love it.
So I think like you, I've been in the performance space this is my 36th year, formally, informally, probably a little bit longer than that. But, when I got my doctorate, neuroscience was almost exclusively, it was exclusively on the clinical side.
Right.
So all the research that was available in looking at the human brain and what it is doing, Brad, was limited to what's broken, how is it broken, how do we go fix it? So I'm talking about things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and epilepsy and even on the softer side on depression and schizophrenia and those kinds of things. And if you had to look into the human brain, typically up until just 10, 11 years ago, you had to go to a hospital, number one. And then two, you had to go to the psychiatric section of the hospital. Yeah. Like there was no other place to go look into the human brain. So I was almost 10, 15 years into postdoctorate and 25 years into my profession. And because I am a practitioner doctor, so I don't teach anywhere. I've been a consultant my whole life or a coach my whole life. I have a huge network and people ask me to peer review their work. So I got a paper to peer review in 2015. And it was from a reference, a buddy of mine knew her and she sent it to me. And she was looking at epileptic patients. And as I was reading her paper that she wanted me to review before it goes to publication to give her feedback, because I work in the sort of, non-academic, non-research side, she was looking at epileptic patients to see what is happening in the brain of epileptic patients in several minutes before they get the onset of the seizure. So epilepsy is a very high frequency motor function, right? You have this fits, this shaking that you cannot control. It's very rare that epileptic patient go from 0 to 100 miles an hour. Typically, there's a twinkling of the eye, the hands start to tremble a little bit, the fingers, the mouth moves, and depending on who you are, it could be a few seconds, but usually several minutes. So she was looking at them and saying, is there something we can do to minimize this surge of the full from when it starts?
Kind of stop it.
So I'm reading this. I don't even finish the paper, Brad, and I'm like, how in the world is she doing this? And so she had this device where she was able to wirelessly look into the human brain, because what went through my mind was, how can you measure electricity? Because you got to be an MRI machine, right, and where you have to stand very still. So so it turns out, in my opinion, Brad, our understanding of both the human experience as well as a small part of that human experience, which is our performance, fundamentally changed around 2015. Right, like that's a big, bold statement that I just made, and I'm a scientist, so I don't make, hyperbole statements like that. But when I was reading that, I was working with an NBA team, and specifically an all-star NBA player. He's a guard. He shoots. Amazing shooter, but was struggling at the free throw line. So, ironically, when there was a lot of chaos and someone in his face, he was making shots. But when there's nobody, in his way, and he has a straight shot at a basket that's just there, he would start to shake. So when I read that paper from that scientist in New Zealand, I said, what if I looked into this basketball player that I was working with and see what his brain does? So that's where it really started. And truthfully, Brad, I did not know what to look for. I wasn't 100% sure what I was looking at. But I had good questions, though. I had very good questions. And my questions were, in the seconds and minutes leading up to a human being being able to perform at a high level, i.e. do what they're capable of doing, so athletically, that would be it. Non-athletically, it would be their response to a surprise or to a chaotic moment, to navigate an emotionally charged situation where they have to recall a skill or something in their cognitive inventory of what to bear. Is the brain in a certain state when that happens well? I didn't know the answer. Is the brain in a certain state when it doesn't happen well? So in this case, he makes a free throw. Does his brain look a certain way? He misses one. Does he look a certain way? So the answer to that question was not just yes, but it was heck yeah. So turns out, and I was in my 30s, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, Brad. Like, I'm legitimately embarrassed to admit this, but I was in my early 30s after several degrees, undergraduate and a master's degree, when I learned for the first time that the brain has electricity. Electricity is the language of the brain. And so, Brad, if you think about it, it has to be electricity. Like, it couldn't possibly be anything else. So if I'm walking somewhere, if you just give me another 2 minutes, I'll get back to the 10 hertz. But if you think about this, Brad, if I'm taking a walk at some park and like 10 feet away, I see something black on the ground. So just follow me here. The visual image of that black thing, the light has to go to that black object. Photons have to go from there into my eyes, because that's the only place photons can enter my human body. So not my nose. It has to go somewhere to the back of my brain where I have to label it. It's a snake. It's not a stick. It's not a basketball. It's not a bicycle. It's a snake. In addition to that labeling system, I then have to associate a threat level to it. Snake, bad. Stick, fine. I keep walking. Because I labeled it snake, danger, bad, I then quick turn around, like I think most of us would, and haul our rear ends the other way. I wouldn't haul my ass over and try to jump that snake. So all of that, Brad, all of that happened in what? A second and a half?
Yeah.
What else, what human phenomenon do we know of that can facilitate that level of external stimuli entering our brain, interpreting, and then creating a motor movement? So it turns out that electricity is the language of the human brain. And in those 10 seconds, 30 seconds, minute, 2 minutes before, he makes that free throw and it's made, or any one of us tries to do something at the highest, level of our ability, cognitive or physical, that it's a certain frequency and it's around 10 hertz. Now, on a scale from 1 to 100, all right, 10 is low. So 0 to 5, most of us would be sleeping. Now, think about that. When you're sleeping, what kind of activity is your brain? You're not eating anything. You're not tasting anything. You're not judging anything. You're not looking anything. You're not processing anything. So conversely, or realistically, it's very easy to deduce that there's not a lot of work. So the activity is low. So slightly above that level is where the 10 is, because 10 is close to 5. Now, if you go to 100 on the other end of this scale, which is not entirely accurate, but for your audience, I think it's accurate enough. Imagine 100 where, Brad, you're yelling, you're screaming, you have a million thoughts in your head. It's a serious consequence. Decisions have to be made. It's just complete chaos, and you don't even know what to do next. You've gone into that proverbial fight, flight, freeze mode. So if you have that scale, what is it about something so low on that scale? 10 is very low on that 100 scale, and it's just above sleeping. So what is magical about 10 hertz? So let me share that, and then I'll pause. So why? Like, why is it that every time he was making the free throw, and I wouldn't say every time, I would say 98% of the time that he was making them, he was around 10 hertz. And the higher up he went, so 20, 30, 40, 50, the higher the odds went up that he was going to miss it. So what happens? So at 10 hertz, two magical things happen, because I started to ask myself, I told you I didn't have the answers, but I had a lot of good questions, Brad. So when one of my questions was answered, yes, the brain is at a certain electrical state when we do our best. And conversely, when it's not in that state, we progressively lean towards a greater dispersion of what we are capable of doing. We could still do something pretty good at 100 hertz, but the odds are really low. Okay. The next question then became, well, what's magical about 10? Well, why not 15? Why not 30? What's so magical about that? So the two magical things that happen, Brad, at 10 hertz is, number one, sensory input is amplified. So our sensory input, so the input that we receive from our 5 senses, we only have 5. There is no competition in the brain, because think about 10 is low. It's just about sleeping. Your brain isn't processing a million things. So you hear more, you see more, you feel more, you taste more. And that's where the proverbial, I want to be in the moment. I just want to be here. I want to be present. When people say those things, I'm sure you said them too. What are you really saying? You're saying, in this moment, I am seeing more, feeling more, hearing more, tasting more. But that's not a proactive thing, because the senses are always giving us input. At any moment in time, you can open your eyes and look at something. But you can look at something with 100 thoughts going in your head and you won't see anything, right? Or imagine driving home from work after a long day, like a long, stressful day, and you got a 30-minute drive back home, you put some music on, and you get home. If I legitimately asked you, hey, Brad, what music did you listen to? I doubt you could tell me. It was there, the auditory,
Sure.
stimulation was coming out of the radio, but there was competition in the brain. So at 10 hertz, because it's low, because there's no traffic in the human brain, sensory input has a place to be processed by your thalamus, which is where most of the sensory inputs go. And most sensory input inherently is non-judgmental. If I look at a tree and I'm looking at a leaf, like, what did that tree or leaf ever do to me? You know what I mean? Like, current state stimuli very, very rarely has a lot of additional, harm, whereas memory or sort of cognitive inventory does. The second magical thing that happens, in addition to amplified sensory input, is our access to existing inventory in our brain. So all of our memories are stored in our brain. The hard drive of our life is in our brain, primarily in the hippocampus, which is a tiny little gland. That's the thumb drive. So, Brad, every human being, all the people that they've met, all the conversations you've had, all your life experiences, the books that you've read, the training that you've gone to, the videos that you've seen, it's all there. Again, when you're at 10 hertz, the traffic is very low. So we can take that stimuli, whatever we're seeing, feeling, hearing, and go find the right inventory related to the moment at hand. This is what leads to what we call optimism or confidence. So I work with a ton of athletes. And when I say, hey, what does it mean when you're confident? Well, I believe. Well, what does it mean when you believe? I don't know. But think about what confidence means, because confidence is not a real thing. It's a label. Confidence means that when I'm faced with something, any challenge, my brain retrieves. It has access to the right inventory. Oh, this is what my coach told me to do. This is how I practiced last week. Oh, I did this 5 years ago. Oh, I did this when I was a kid. Oh, my dad told me to do this. When I'm accessing that inventory, I say to myself, I got this. I can do this. Therefore, I have this thing called confidence or optimism or feeling happy. These are old labels and cliches, but basically 10 hertz allows you more access to your existing inventory. And when you access your existing inventory, that's when cognitive magic happens. So induction and deduction. You think of something creative. You have an epiphany. I've had the great pleasure of working with some amazing multiple Grammy award-winning artists, and sometimes they get writer's block. Like they can't write a song to save their life. And yet a few years ago, when they had nothing, they couldn't stop writing. Like songs were just coming out on pen to paper. But I find even with them, if I get them to 10 hertz, suddenly they have access to the same inventory, if not more, and now they can't stop writing again. So the real skill, in my view, is, most athletes and high performers and executives, when they hire me, I have a different approach. I tell them, I'm not here to teach you anything, right? I mean, I could teach you how to communicate. I could teach you how to resolve conflict. I could teach you how to whatever. I don't do that. I used to do that. But I don't do that anymore. So in 2015, I made this massive pivot because I said, what if I just help someone get to 10 hertz? Like that's my coaching philosophy. And then on their own, they amplify sensory input, they amplify access to the inventory, and they figure out what to do. So even as a leadership coach, as a performance coach, I've changed the way that I approach. I don't teach skills anymore. I used to. And I just said, get you to 10 hertz and you unlock your own magic.
Okay, so you've set up a number of questions. I may not need my list for our entire conversation after jotting some notes down here. Let's first talk about the concept of flow, because She Sent Me High's concept of flow sounds very different from this. Flow seems to be the unconscious. You seem to be leaning into tapping a higher level of conscious in terms of memories and access and training, that kind of stuff. Is that accurate, or is there an overlap between the two concepts?
Yeah. So I know this flow state really well, and I don't know if you know all the history about it, but
yeah, it's super interesting.
The term flow really came from a description of overflow. And, someone felt, when I'm in this amazing state of what I just described, and again, they didn't know what 10 hertz was. They'd never looked into a human brain. And so flow, and I know if we were sitting in person, you would probably kick me or throw something at me right now, and many of your audience will, so I apologize. But this is a podcast of collaboration. Right. So we are trying to learn, and I just have a different perspective. I'm not implying that I'm right, but here's my take on flow. First of all, flow is not real, right? Neither is happiness, neither is confidence, neither is optimism. These are words. They're not real. Your nose is real. Your eye is real. Your hippocampus is real. Electricity is real. But when we didn't understand something, we came up with these different words. Flow is no different than empowered or Zen or being in a zone. It's just a new term, and it's just a term that someone used. But at the end of the day, I think sometimes we use older frameworks to force fit new understanding. And I'll give you a great analogy, and I would ask you and your audience to consider this respectfully. So when COVID happened, right, we were all stuck at home. I have a 3-car garage, and my son, who I guess he was 14, 15 at the point, he's in college now. I said, Hunter, let's go clean the garage. Like we've been in this house 20-some years. Like you imagine all the junk and the crud that just piles up when you're raising kids at home. So we were cleaning the garage, and on the top shelf of something that I didn't even know was there was a road atlas. He pulls it out. So I was like, Dad, what the heck is this? I said, it's a road atlas. I'm like, what is this? It's a map. I said, well, we used to use this to navigate. And he goes, why didn't they just use, Google Maps? I was like, because we didn't have it. So I don't know how old you are, Brad, and I don't need to know, but back in the day, like someone sat next to you and they opened up, like every car had this 11 by 17 road atlas from AAA, right? And that's how you navigated. So if someone were to use a road atlas today, we wouldn't. So I honor the people that put together that road atlas. I mean, the amount of work that it took to do all of that and to help us navigate geographically where we wanted to go is a noble task. You have to applaud that effort. That's how we knew how to do things at that point in time. But if someone were to use a road atlas today, we were like, bro, what are you doing? Let me show you a much easier, better way to get to where you want to go. And oh, by the way, it'll tell you where the traffic is. It'll give you details. It'll even tell you verbally where to go and when to make a left turn. So I view neuroscience, because literally we're looking into the brain. We're looking at the functionality of the human brain in a functional moment, not a clinical moment. And I view psychology, which is where all of these other terms live, like when we couldn't identify that. So even conscious and subconscious, they're not real things. They just aren't. If you look at the human biology and the human physiology and the neurochemistry and the neurobiology, there's not one neurotransmitter called flow or happy or sad. And people that are in that field, tend to associate all these different kinds of things and triggers and those kinds of things. I think that's complicated.
Well, yeah, but
10 hertz.
Conceptually, though, I'm curious because flow at its core is when challenge and skill align. Your challenge is not above your skill is not above your challenge, so you don't end up bored, you don't end up out of your element. So my question is 10 hertz where those are aligned, where you feel that I'm not overreaching? You said that came from the term overflow. I'm not overreaching, but I'm not bored and just about to fall asleep either. Is 10 in that range, or is 10 below that range? Is it more in control? So it'd be a similar, if you were to look at somebody who was defined as being in flow, you would very likely find that they're in that range of 10 hertz.
That is correct. But I would never use the term flow. Because it's not real. And because if I were to ask 10 people to describe flow to me, they would give me 10 different answers very similar, right? The frequency in your brain is real. So compare this to a medical practitioner,
okay?
Right? If you go to a medical doctor and you say, hey, doctor, my left knee hurts, right? Any physician in the entire world would know that the left knee is on the left leg. There's no disparity in the definition of that because it's real. It's right there. You can see it. You can touch it. It's defined. There's a beginning. There's an end, right? So look, I am not against flow. I'm telling you, I wouldn't use it because to me, from a neuroscience perspective, it's an older framework to get to the same place. Now, I honor that knowledge. I respect that knowledge in the same way that I respect a road atlas. But I'm saying our evolution, our understanding of what exactly is going on in the human brain, we don't need 12 triggers. We don't need all these behaviors. We don't need to be in a certain state. You can get to 10 hertz literally anywhere you are, and you don't have to be in what you would call flow permanently. So one of the things that I'm trying to change, and I talk about this in my book, Life Explained, Chasing 10 Hertz, is we have to let go of the idea that whether it's flow or happiness or peace or contentment, like these pursuits that all of us seem to have, these are largely neurochemical states. And I have let go of the idea that I have to be in that state all the time. It's hard for me.
Because you're picking and choosing. You're aiming at. Let's dive into that, because I think a free throw shooter, a golfer hitting a putt, or standing on that spot ready to tee off, that's super measurable. Like you and I can both get our arms around that. What would be some examples of other key moments that maybe are measurable, but at a minimum can be tweaked, or we'll get into some of your
That's
concepts.
A great question.
So what would be some examples that people can be thinking if they're not a golfer, they're not a basketball player, what would be one of those moments where you've either analyzed or you've at least applied this with some of your clients?
Yes, hundreds, if not thousands. And again, I want you to let go of the idea of measurable. Right. I understand what you're saying in measurable because you either make the free throw or you don't. Right. So you know that
it's super objective.
I get that.
Very straightforward.
Exactly.
Right.
I get that part. Okay. So, but I would exchange that with when do I need to be my best?
Sure.
So I'll give you a dozen examples in rapid fire mode, and then you can pick any one that you want.
Perfect.
I'm having a date night with my significant other. I've had a long day, but when I go to have my date night, I don't want to be thinking about the million things that I just did on that day. I want to be present with her.
Okay.
One, a kid taking a quiz or an exam, right? So, I got to go on stage and play the flute or the violin or whatever instrument that I have to, right?
Some performance.
An executive, performance. An executive, I have to give feedback and I hate giving feedback. I got to do a performance review of an employee, whatever it is. I'm an executive, I'm in a board meeting, and I think it's going really well. And suddenly one board member says, you guys are a bunch of, dummies. And now my brain has spiked. Like, what can I do in that moment? And then surprises. I'm having a wonderful day. I suddenly get a text message that my daughter's in a car accident. So I don't like the idea per se of I need to do this chunk of work, and then I'm going to rely on this chunk of work, whether it's meditation or mindfulness or cooking or walking or going to the beach. These are amazing things to do. I don't like this concept that if I do this body of work either in the morning or midday or at night or whatever it is, that's good enough. Those are good things to do. I do them every day. I like the idea more that fix it as I go. Because when I look at human brains, and I'm well over 20,000 now. When I wrote the book, it was 18,000. But when I look at the human brain, and I've studied them in ways that I literally, Brad, I'm being honest with you, I didn't know what I was looking for. But you know how one question leads to an answer, and then that answer probes a question that you never even thought of before you had the first question. And so this creative exploration of the human condition just exploded in my brain because suddenly my team and I are looking at hundreds and thousands of people in a non-clinical setting, which in a way, Brad, freed us. Like if I was in a clinical setting or academic setting, I got to go to this IRB, I got to do like all this stuff. But when someone says, hey, help me be creative, like there's nothing clinical there. I'm not giving you a medication. I'm not giving you a protocol. But I found that during the course of a day, so let's say, for the sake of math, 50 things happen to you in one day. 50 discrete events, like a text message, an email, a lunch, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Now, let's say that 48 of them were good. 2 of them were bad. Okay. What do you think, and again, I'm just asking here, what do you think would be the cognitive load or the cognitive cost of your day? Would it be the average of the 48 against the 2? What do you think it would be?
Yeah, people always joke about that with performance reviews, that you get all this positive feedback and there's one thing and that's the only thing you can think about. So our brains are designed to focus on the threat. So clearly it would be the average of those 2 most likely that would be driving that cognitive drain.
Yeah. So it's not so much that our brains are designed to look at the threat. I think that's sort of downstream. It's more that a threat is a higher frequency. So let's say that those 48 things were really good. You got a hug, your kid said, hey, Dad, I love you. There's no traffic on your way home. Like how much does your brain has to process when good things are going on? Not much. Right. But one bad thing, your boss comes and tells you that, you're not getting a raise. Now think about what your brain is doing now. Oh my God, this, I got to do that. I got to tell my wife, I got to do this. I can't do that. So the load of it goes high. So 80 hertz is going to kill anything in 10 hertz any day, anytime, any place. So our cost of each day, and if it's, oh my gosh, the 2 or 3 things I want your audience to get, here's one of them. our cost of each day is not the average of all of our experiences. It is quite literally the cost of your worst experience of that day because it has the highest frequency.
Sure. That makes sense.
And we now live in a time where, because of these guys over here, and I'm showing Brad my cell phone, we are consuming constantly, not just our own whatever negative experiences that we may have, but other people's. So we call this micro trauma, like secondary PTSD. If I hear from someone, who's going through a tough time and they text me or send me a video about something and blah, 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 well, my brain has to consume that. It's not mine. And I give people the example, Brad, of imagine that you're driving somewhere home and suddenly the cops are there and there's ambulance and traffic just stops. And then they start to let you through and you slowly creep through where the car accident happened. And you look out your window and you see a horrible wreck and someone did not survive that. And then you go by. If you're a normal human being, and I think you are, Brad, it would, for the next 30 minutes from now, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I would feel something, right? I wasn't there. I didn't cause the accident. I don't know who he was. But I experienced, my brain had to consume something. So we now live in an age where I always tell people it has never been easier to be physically healthy. It has never been harder to be mentally healthy. Like physically, the amount of workouts and nutrition and protocols and, oh my God, it's so easy now to go just to a blood test and to be physically healthy. It is so hard to get to 10 hertz now. And therefore, that's why I'm saying that the model, our wellness model has got to change from this blocks of wellness activity or even this aspiration to be constantly happy or that happiness is a constant state or confidence is a constant state. And instead, let's go back to the 48-2 example of your cognitive cost of each day. Instead, say, what are the times in my day that I need to be at 10 hertz? And let me just pick two of them and the two most important ones. Brad, that's an easier ask. And I found that if you just focus on your top two where the consequences are pretty severe, and somehow if I navigate that well, because the frequency is now lower, I create a condition where there's more access to my inventory for the rest of the things.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's jump into those. What would be, and you've got a whole bunch of them in the book, but what would be a couple that folks could either integrate into their own life or into what they're doing with their coaching clients? What are some of the things that we can be doing when those two hit? So we're cruising along, it's all good, boom, 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 and then boom, that text comes through, or boom, that bad news comes through, or boom, that friend sends us this, oh, it's horrible. What are a couple things that people can be doing on a practical level or philosophical level, however you address these things to modify the impact of those two? Yeah.
So let me give you some context, and then we'll do about three of them. Okay.
Sounds
so
great.
these things are called a neurohack.
Okay. And
we've created hundreds of them in the book. I think we had about a dozen of them. In the app, we have about 3 or 4 dozen of them. And okay. So first, context. This idea of lowering our brain frequency, right? So that's a term I'm using. Lay people would say this idea of de-stressing or relaxing is not new. But what are almost all of the things that we do to do that? Well, I might cook, I might go to my favorite restaurant, I might watch a movie, I might work out, I might go on vacation, I might go for a run. Like the list of things that we do is quite long and it's not new. I certainly didn't invent them. We've been doing it,
sure.
Whether it's yoga or mindfulness or meditation. But almost none of those things, not just because of time, because they take too long, but also logistic. Yoga gets my frequency down to 10 hertz, but guess what? I need a mat and I need a place where I can do my flow and my flow and my yoga poses and be in that moment. But think of going back to that basketball player who was trying to make that free throw, a golfer trying to make a putt. Like you only have a couple of seconds. Right. Maybe 30 seconds at the most. In that moment, what can you do? So I started to explore how can we get the cognitive benefit of those traditional things that we do, like cooking and working out and watching a movie or listening to music or reading a book. Like there's cognitive benefit to that. Is there a way to get the cognitive benefit of that in a shorter period of time? And the answer is yes.
And portable.
And well, not even portable. It's like it's on you. You just use whatever.
That's what I mean. You could bring it into your car. You don't need your mat. You don't need all these other things. Okay, good. Excellent.
So we'll do three.
Sounds great.
We'll do three.
Perfect.
Okay. So the first one is called 10-2, and my team and I labeled all the Neurohacks by numbers. That was intentional. We use numbers because numbers is a global language and it's agnostic. When you hear 10-2, you don't think Eastern or Western or whatever.
You think of driving. 10 and 2, baby.
There you go. Or other. Yes, exactly. That's the most common one. Okay. Don't start doing it until I say go very loudly, because I got to explain it to you. And for your listeners, I would also ask that they not start doing this until I say go very loudly.
You got it.
Let me explain first. So Brad, take your hands if you don't mind. And I want you to grab something, either your armchair. Do you have an armchair or a chair or a table?
I don't. I've got things sitting here on the table or a water bottle or something.
Grab your thighs.
Okay.
Grab your thighs. Grab your quads. Again, don't do anything until I say go. When I say go very loudly, which is not now, right? I want you as fast as you can on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being maximum tension. I want you to, not now, I want you to squeeze your hands with whatever you're grabbing. In addition to squeezing your hands, squeeze your shoulders, squeeze your jaw, squeeze your eyes, squeeze your nostrils, squeeze your hips. Basically, as fast as you can, when I say go very loudly, which is not now, get to 10 as fast as you can.
Okay.
I will have you be in that state for about 2 or 3 seconds. It won't be very long, so just get there.
And am I contracting my quads and my feet and all that? Or is it all upper body?
You are creating maximum tension.
Okay.
Whatever tension means to you, create it.
I'm on it.
And create the most of it. After 2 or 3 seconds in that state, I will get, this is very important, I will say, let's go to 2. But I want you to go to 2 as slow as you can. So you can even do a countdown like a 9 and 8. And with each lower number, you can let go of just a little bit of tension in your body, a little bit of tension in your body, a little bit, until you get to just 2 tension in your whole body. Okay?
I'm ready.
So this is called 10-2.
Okay, you ready, everybody? Here we go.
Go. I go to 2 slow, go to 2 slow.
All right, I think I'm around 2.
Okay. What is going from 0 to 10 feel like to you? Give me one word descriptors.
Your word chaos is the first thing to pop in my head, just like a bodily chaos.
Okay, chaos.
Or contracting.
Okay, all right. What did going from 10 to 2 feel like?
Easing off or relaxing or descaling.
Okay. Those labels that you use, relaxing, descaling, easing off, those are words that your brain picked from your inventory to describe what you were feeling. If I was measuring you, and we've done thousands of these literally, your brain, as you were using those words, were describing somewhere around 10 hertz. Okay?
So not the feeling I felt, but the searching for those terms?
No, the feeling that you had.
Okay.
So your brain, when you were going from 10 to 2, you're reducing the frequency. It was going towards 10. But the fact that you said relaxing is an English label that describes frequency somewhere between 10 and about 20 hertz. If I were measuring any human being between 10 and 20 hertz and I say, how are you feeling? Though that would be one of the words that is most typically used.
Okay.
All right. So how long did it take to do that?
It was probably 5 seconds or so.
Okay.
The whole process may be 10 or 12.
Okay. Let's just go with 12 seconds.
Okay.
All right. Okay. What if I told you that what you just did there is the cognitive equivalence of anywhere between 5 to 20 minutes of traditional yoga, mindfulness, meditation, walking stationary bike, and listening to music? You probably wouldn't believe me, but that's what's basically going on. Now, the next question people have is, well, how long will I be in that state? And even though it's a good question, it's the wrong question. Because the brain only needs a few seconds to access what it needs to access. So, did you have to go somewhere to do the 10-2?
No.
Did you have to buy something?
No.
Did you have to change clothes?
Nope.
No. So you literally use your hands, and presumably your hands are on you wherever you go, Brad, and so are most people. So here is a technique that is more of the fix it as you go model. So I literally have a golfer do a 10-2 on the grip of their club, before they hit a shot, or a basketball player that can do a mini version on the ball, or an executive in a company that, they have a pen in their hands and someone just says something horrible and they're like, oh my God, what do I do now? They can do it in pen. Or kids that are taking a quiz or an exam and they have challenges with remembering what they studies or their attention, they can do that. So we have come to this stage of our evolution as human beings where traditional models of our mental wellness are no longer enough. They're not wrong. How could doing yoga or meditation or going for a walk or working out be wrong? They're not wrong, but they're not enough, right? So even me, when I do yoga and meditation in the morning, which I do every morning, and I typically wake up at 4:30 every morning, by 7 o'clock, the cognitive benefit of that is gone. I'm in the flow of my day. I'm doing emails and text messages and Zoom calls, and now I'm at the mercy of whatever stimuli my brain has to process. So I need a tool that I can do, quote, just like athletes need tools that they can do in game or in competition. Us human beings need tools for during the day or during the school day, because most of us human beings, we live in two worlds. We either live in a school day if you're a kid, or a work day.
Sure. So let's go back to your example. Let's say I get that text. I'm sitting in my office. Day's going pretty well. 48 things are happening good. And then I get that text and it's, my daughter is hurt. And
spiking.
And so I remember this conversation and I do that for 12 seconds. That the benefit of that, I can see it keeping me from going off the edge immediately, but it's still my daughter and I'm still concerned and it's like, won't I pop right back to that? It's like, it keeps me from overreacting initially, but it's still my daughter. What?
Yeah. So this is what I always tell people. That's a great question, by the way, is Neurohacks are not going to make the challenges of your life go away.
Well, of course.
They're going to make the ability.
Aren't you going to bounce right back in terms of this mental piece?
Let me finish. They're not going to make the challenges of your life go away. They're going to allow you to navigate them better. So when you do that, after you get that message from your daughter, you are going to have more access to your inventory so that you say the right thing, you think of the right thing as the next step.
So it calms things, at least temporarily, so that you're thinking more clearly.
Again, you are trying to fit an old model into a new way of thinking. I don't want you to think that I'm going to calm myself temporarily. I don't know that that's the goal. I don't think of it that way. I think in this moment, what is the best version of myself I can bear for my next step? It's got nothing to do with necessarily being calm. Mm-hmm. Being calm is not the goal. Accessing my inventory is the goal.
Clear thinking.
Yeah. Again, clear thinking is a cliche. Please allow me. Clear thinking means I am accessing existing inventory. Who do I call if my daughter's in trouble? Who can I call? What are my options? Right? What can I remember? If I have more access to the inventory in my head, again, I want to be very explicit. I'm talking about the left knee, which is on the left leg. I'm not talking about a cliche. If I have a language, and this is part of the problem that we have with our mental wellness, is we're using all these road atlas type cliches when we don't need to anymore. They've served their purpose. We used to think the world is flat. It ain't flat. Did you know that up until the 16th century, the biggest mystery of the human experience was, where the heck does the sun go at night? We've gotten past that. Psychology is a science that was useful for a certain point, and it is still useful for certain situations. But it is, in my opinion, it is an outdated science. We have new information. We know how the brain works now. right? You're not going to positive think your way, through everything. You got to get your brain to 10, and whatever the contextual relevant information that is already in your brain that you need to access to do your next step, that's the ask. And if you get to 10 in these key moments, you will figure out what to do next.
So you mentioned 3 that you wanted to kind of hit right off the top. So that's a starting
Let's
point.
do another one.
What are a couple other examples?
So take your 2 hands together like so, Brad. And once again, please don't start until I say go very loudly.
You got it.
Right? So I got to explain to you. Now, your left hand is not going to move. For those of you that can't see this, I have Brad putting his 2 hands facing each other in front of his face. Don't start until I say go. Your left hand is not going to move.
Okay.
We're going to do 6 of these, 3 one way, 3 another way. I want you to imagine that the fingers on your right hand are legs, and the right hand is a mountain that you're trying to climb. Don't start.
Okay.
The first 3, I want you to go very quickly, climb up this mountain very quickly, three times.
So everyone picture almost a spider, like in a little kid's thing where you say the itsy bitsy spider, but it's moving really fast with my fingers. So go ahead.
So the first 3, you're going to climb on the, not now, Brad.
All right, keep going.
Okay. The first 3, we're going to climb up the mountain very fast.
Okay.
Right? Then the next 3, we're going to climb up the mountain very slow.
Okay.
As you're going up very slow, I want you to feel the tip of your finger touching the skin of your finger.
So very consciously.
One time, not so much consciously, allow the sensory input of your fingers and your brain to live in your brain.
Okay.
Right? It's not mechanical, it's not cognitive, it's sensory. So amplify the input of the sensation of the hands, of the fingers touching the left hand in your last 3.
Okay.
So 3 very fast and 3 very slow mountain climbers.
All right.
Okay? All right, and go.
Okay.
Yeah. What did the 3 fast feel like to you, Brad?
I think I was just getting it done. Just
okay, good. Just going through the motions.
So yeah, good. Yeah, checking a box.
Chaos. Okay, all right. And then the 3 slow. What did that feel like?
More aware, tuning into. Again, the conscious word comes to mind, although I don't think that's one of the ones you wanted me mentioning to you. But yeah, just awareness would be the key word there.
Did you feel less distracted and more present as you were doing the second 3?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So if I were measuring you, and we've done thousands of these, right? Similar to the 10-2, the second 3, your electricity was going down towards 10 because you were amplifying the sensory input of the sensation of those 2, right? So sensory input and cognitive function are processed differently in the human brain. They're going to completely different places. One is going to the thalamus, the sort of way station, the grand central station of all sensory input, except smell maybe. And then the other one is going to your memory bank, to your cognitive function, right? I should do this, I should do that, and he wants me to do that kind of stuff, which I'm not feeling now. Same thing. I have, again, how long did it take you to do those 6?
Yeah, 7 seconds.
7, exactly. Do you need to be a certain location to do that?
No.
No. Exactly. You can, wherever you are, whatever you are doing, unless you're driving, then you can't necessarily do it on your hands, but you can see how easily you can do it underneath your desk or your table. And I've been on many Zoom calls. I have a staff, and they don't always do what I ask them to do, and I spike. And when I spike, I say, okay, I'm at 40 hertz now. I got to get back towards 10. And so without even them knowing, I'm doing this stuff at the bottom of my hands, but I'm amplifying the sensory input. Remember what I said about 10 hertz? The magic of 10 hertz is that sensory input is inherently amplified, right? So the magic is that the tools that we need to get to 10 hertz are already on us because they're all related to sensory input. And the arena that we're trying to change is also on us, which is our brain. Now, if I want to use a calculator, or if I want to look at a calendar, I got to go to my phone. It's a device. If I want to go to the gym, I got to go to a location. If I want to go to the golf course, I'm going to, a golf course there. But if I want to get to 10 hertz, I'm going to where I already am. And like Yogi Berra said, wherever I go, there I am. Right? So this magical state that we want to be in is where you are. You just want to access it wherever you are. It is a myth that, I got to do these things.
Sure.
I got to have these things. I got to buy these things. All these things that we do, I go to yoga class, I go on a retreat somewhere. Good. I'm a fan of those. I do them myself. But understand at the end of the day that those are not sufficient for the world that we live in now. We live in a world now where the average EEG of a normal human being is the equivalent of a schizophrenic patient from the 1950s. Our brains are consuming way too much stimuli than they're designed to. We are carrying stimulation in our hip pockets on our devices. And we're constantly feeding this brain this high-frequency noise, this microtraumas, secondary PTSD. The problem I have with devices isn't the device. It isn't that they aren't incredibly helpful. It's the shared trauma. It's like going to a NASCAR and you only pay attention when there's a wreck, right? So we're designed to scroll until something spikes us. And so now the challenge, the benefit of the spike is that it has my attention, but the cost of that attention is a spike. So we need new tools.
Is there okay, so these are good tools. I can see how this would help. Is there an approach to your day that you utilize, or something to maintain versus returning to it all the time to stay more in that maybe 10 to 25 range, so we're not needing to come down as far?
Again, forgive me, but again, I think you're using an old framework. I am saying it doesn't matter what the whole of your day looks like. It doesn't matter. It could be filled, your calendar could be filled with good stuff or bad stuff. I'm saying just pick two. It is too much to say, how can I be in green or near green all day long? It's too much of an ask. I think it's a significantly easier ask to look at your calendar and say, at 10 o'clock, at 2 o'clock, or whatever your two game times are. Like the most consequential events of my day, those are the two that before them and during them, I'm going to use Neurohacks, so I'm going to spike myself down, or I'll give all my attention. What I have found is that this thing that you call stress, which is, again, not real. Stress is not a real thing. It really isn't. It's a word. There's so much neurobiology.
Stress is when you create, you create stress when you go into the gym. That's on purpose. You're lifting more than you can maintain over long periods. So you're creating stress.
Not stress.
That is stress to the muscles. And then the rest allows that to create strength. But I think in this context, I'm following what you're saying.
Stress is not a thing. However you use it, you can use it however you want to use it.
Well, you can use the physics definition of it, that it's more than the body can maintain over extended periods. So that would be a physics definition of stress.
No. Again, when our brain goes higher from 10, it doesn't matter what you're doing. That is what you would label as stress, uncomfortable, not having confidence, right? So.
I don't want to mince your words here, so that's fine. Keep going.
Okay. So I think it is a much easier ask to say, let me manage the one or two most important feel stressed.
Those key moments. Absolutely. I'm all with you on that.
When we feel stress, it's typically because at the moment that we needed to be our best version, we weren't. Right?
Agreed.
So pick your best moments. And don't pick all of them, pick just one or two. But I find that the cognitive change of being the best version of yourself when it matters the most impacts all the others. Like trying to have 2 good at-bats is a lot better than trying to have 20 good at-bats.
Sure. Or focusing on this at-bat and not worrying about the second one.
Correct.
Yeah.
So But look, if I do well at what I want to do well at, so when my phone blows up, when athletes and head coaches and assistant coaches and executives are texting me at all hours of the day and night, it is rarely because they got beat. It is almost always because they beat themselves. Like, I choked here, I didn't do this, like, right? So I think it is a much easier ask in order to achieve our own mental wellness, which is what I think you were trying to say earlier. Let me hover around 20 and 30. Like, the way to do that is not this constant, all right, I'm going to read a book, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do all of these wellness kinds of things, because you're at the mercy of your biggest spike. And your biggest spike, if on almost every case, is going to be your brain processing something at 40, 50, 70 hertz with the least amount of access to your own inventory. We don't even need the answer. We just need to know what to do next.
So what about this, Izzy? If you've got, it seems like I can completely follow you on the free throw, the golf thing, the response to an emergency, to be able to think clearly. Is this different, or maybe this isn't something you've studied, but is it different for the 100-meter sprinter who needs to have that up, like at 100, or the offensive lineman, or the, these different situations that calm is not the choice.
That's
calm
not true.
Is, okay,
again,
talk us through that. Talk us through that.
So I think you are confusing heart rate and other biomarkers with EEG. So I've done lots of Ironmans and half Ironmans, and I run, swim a lot. And sometimes my heart rate will be at 150, 160, 170. I'm doing zone 4, zone 5 runs, but I feel like I'm floating. Right? So, but at that stage, my heart rate is high. My pupils are dilated. My glycogen levels are surging in my body. So I think you are confusing what the body needs to do at a very high state, like something like I work with NASCAR drivers. Like when they're in their car, I mean, there's so much noise and things are moving so fast, right? So, but you can absorb all that stimuli at 10 hertz. 10 hertz does not mean like low cognitive function. It means the right cognitive function.
So you're measuring, in fact, I'm positive people are thinking, well, how's he measuring this? So is this I think it's a remote tool, so you're not needing wires. Is it like a sticker type thing that you put in certain spots and then you can measure it from the sidelines, or how does this? Something
along those lines, yeah. So my team and I, we basically had to kind of, because we wanted far more accurate data, because I work with professional athletes, and with professional athletes, I don't want algorithmic data. So most of the commercially available sort of, neuro devices that are out there, if not all of them, they use algorithms. And I think for the purposes of general wellness, those are good enough. But if I were working with elite people and elite athletes, I don't want to be guessing. I don't want algorithms. I want to look at live EEG. I want to look at where each one, I need to know exactly at what second in the sequence of events this athlete is spiking. So the only place that you can measure brain activity, unfortunately, is the brain. You can measure heart rate in many different parts of the body. So heart rate, and that's why I think people get focused on heart rate and heart rate variability a lot, because it's measurable, and it's measurable in multiple places. Heck, you just have a wristwatch or something, and it'll measure it for you all day long. But heart rate there's a correlation between heart rate and stress, but there's not a cause. Like I just told you, I was at 160, 170 BPMs running, but I felt like I was floating on air, and it did not feel like stress to me. Right. But there are also situations where, someone is yelling at me, cussing at me. I'm sitting down in a chair doing nothing, but my heart rate goes up as well, because my body is preparing for this threat. It wants to give me a lot more oxygen. It wants to dilate my pupils. It wants to surge in energy and get all my organs, the whole vagus nerve activated so that I can, or deactivated so that I can respond to this threat.
Let's go back to your Ironman example, because I appreciate you bringing that up. We've got a lot of endurance athletes that listen to this. What's your favorite Ironman? What was one of your favorites?
Oh my gosh, I would say Challenge Roth in Germany.
Okay, good choice. what's your strongest of the three? Swim, bike, or run? Generally.
Run.
Okay.
Run.
So you're on the run, you're mile 18, you're having a pretty good day, but you missed an aid station. The heat is higher than normal. Roth's a little bit faster than maybe most Ironmans, so you're probably running an hour ahead of schedule, but it's not, you're starting to go off the rails. Where might you use a tool now in that race, in that course, you're not going to fix everything because a lot of this is physiological, but to help give yourself the benefit of the doubt in the non-physiological elements. Could you walk us through maybe an example of that?
Yeah. So I have written 10 books. I wrote a book in 2000, 11, 12, called Triathlete EQ, and I covered a lot of this stuff. So what you're saying I can relate to because some version of that happens at every race. At every single race.
Does.
Sometimes, believe it or not, it happens when you're in the corral waiting to get into the water and your brain is like, what the heck did I just sign up for?
Yep.
So these negative thoughts are not voluntary. I'm not choosing to have those thoughts. I'm not inviting those thoughts, but they do come into my head. But to go back to your specific situation, the proverbial wall somewhere between mile 18 and mile 21, 22 happens to all of us. Our body, and it's as much physiological as it is mental. But so those are the times when, I'm actually prepared for that situation. So if you look at all of my race pictures, I have these arm coolers, these white arm coolers. And on my arm coolers, I would write down all of these. I would make a list of these positive memories, like events of my children, vacations I had been on, some of these neurohacks. And as I'm running and my brain starts to say, my knee hurts, my hip hurts, like, gosh, no, I'm about to throw up. Like, stop, dude. Let's just walk. Let's just stop running. Like these voices come into my head. I then replace those with this inventory that I have. I force my brain to a lower frequency. When I do that, suddenly I had better ideas. I remember what my coach told me. So I used to cramp a lot, and I used to cramp sometimes not in the front of my belly, but typically on my abductor side. And I remember I was doing one Ironman, I forget which one it was, and I started to cramp on my right side. And I was like, what do I do? And then I said, okay, let's do a neurohack. And I did, right? And I used my feet. There's another one which I won't show you now. And literally, as I was doing it, I never even finished it. I remember my coach telling me, hey, if you're cramping on the right side, massage your left abductor. I was like, so I did. So I'm running and I'm kind of slowing my pace, but I got my left hand slowly rubbing my left abductor. And I don't even know, maybe 102 yards, it went away. So I had a problem. I knew what to do. It was in my head, but in the moment, I couldn't remember it. So I got my brain to a lower frequency. I don't know that I got to 10 hertz, to be honest, because I was panicking. I was like, I had such a good race. I don't want to walk the rest of these miles left. But I did that, and it went away. And then I remembered another thing. She also said, hey, after you've cramped, just lower your pace a little bit, but increase your cadence. So pick up your leg work, but don't go fast. So how I remembered that, like she had told me that, my coach had, but I basically gave myself access to the inventory that was there. But in that moment when we're spiking, I don't have access to it. So again, I'll go back to the model is, to me, wellness is not, I have the answer. The wellness is for every situation that I have, every challenge that I face, can I get to 10 hertz? In my view, and we can end on this, in my view, the highest form of intelligence, is to have this awareness of your brain, of where it is, and get it to 10 hertz.
And that's where you said you were panicking. That would be a phrase that you would use to identify bumping up to 80, 90,
That's
100,
right.
whatever. Gotcha.
That's right. And again, panicking is not a thing, but it's a label that I'm used to describe something that I'm feeling.
Right.
But you're right. You're exactly right. Now that I've looked into brains, I know that the word panic or mad or angry or sad is in the 40, 50, 60 range. In that context, I was probably around 80, 90. I knew in that moment that things I already know how to do, I'm not going to be able to do. And I found that my biggest strength in an Ironman, you asked me what was my strength. My biggest strength in Ironman was because I started doing them late in my life. I was in my midlife before I started doing them.
Me too. I think we've raced a lot together. I looked at some of your results. I think we've done some of the same races. So we've probably been out there together.
But my biggest strength I always felt was I could always pace myself well and I could make good decisions. Ironman is a long day, as you know.
It's a long day.
It's a long day. And you're by yourself for the most part, meaning it's you, no one's talking to you.
Totally.
And you're in the middle of nowhere because Ironman is not in a stadium. Like you're up there.
Yep.
You know? So I just knew that I could make better decisions, and I would come out of the water, the bottom third typically. I'd come off the bike, middle of the pack in my age group, and I would always finish, not always, most of the time I would finish in the top third. I kid you not, Brad, not because I was the best athlete. I was an old guy. I still am old, but I just made better decisions. I didn't make mistakes, and whatever mistakes happened, they were limited to small things.
Sure.
I'll give you another great example, and then maybe we can end on this. I did Ironman Santa Rosa. It was the last year that I was there. That was the first time ever on the run that it got cold. Like the temperatures dropped really fast once the sun went down. As you know, we're running at like 4 or 5 o'clock, you know. So as I was running, like I've done all these Ironmans, and that was my last full Ironman. I've done all these Ironmans, all these half Ironmans. And for the first time, I'm feeling cold. Like, you don't feel cold on the run. If anything, you're. So I remember that my coach who had won many marathons, standalone marathons. He would tell me, my run coach, is that, you know, he would take like a washcloth and he would put it inside his chest, you know, for the start of a race until it got warm, and then you just throw the washcloth away because our chest is where we feel the most cold. So I started to feel cold on the run, and I suddenly remembered that. And I'm looking like, where the heck am I going to get a washcloth? But on the aid station, there were these little thin paper plates where they put oranges and bananas, right? So I took one of those plates out. I dumped the oranges in the other plate. So it was a little thin paper, like a picnic barbecue plate. And I put that on my chest. And I think I ran that marathon in like 4:32. It was one of my better ones. But somehow I remembered to do that. So again, just to wrap up, I wish I could convince people. I'm not sure I've convinced you, but I wish I could convince people that we have to reconsider how we think of our mental wellness. That this idea that I got to be happy or the best version of myself all the time is an idea we have to let go. It's an old model. It's an atlas. We must understand that in our brain there's electricity, and I got to somehow find a way to get to 10 hertz using a new set of skills and tools in only the moments that matter.
But in the end, isn't that, I'm with you, because in the end, isn't that helping raise your average? So that better version of yourself is in essence occurring if you can effectively become more conscious of those moments and bring down those hertz in your language to enhance that average. Is that accurate? Absolutely.
And again, I'm just going to push back. It's not my language. I didn't invent hertz. I didn't invent electricity. I just observe what's going on. But like what I'm telling you, like you could go do it. Now, if I say flow, if I use another term, like that's a concept. It's a framework. You know what I mean? So the beauty of science is that any person can go duplicate or replicate whatever it is that you're doing, and they should be able to get the same results. So if I tell you to go to 10 hertz, go buy whatever you want to buy and find a way to get to 10 hertz, right? So, but again, I think it is such an easier ask to know that the tools that I need to get to 10 hertz are already on me. The place that I need to get to 10 hertz is my head. And I take me wherever I go. And if I can get to 10 hertz in the moments that matter, just the moments that matter each day, the downstream or the cascaded impact of that is happiness, is optimism, is confidence, because suddenly I'm accessing the best parts of who I am and the best part of my past. And I'm not a slave to my worst part, to my trauma.
Yeah. Izzy, I appreciate it. I think that is a great spot to wrap up. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Good luck with everything.
All right. Cheers. Thanks for having me, Brad.
Take care. Thanks for joining us. If you've been considering pursuing your MBHWC approved coach certification, now is the time. Each of our annual 4 cohorts include the latest updates from the MBHWC, including a complimentary study group for those who are pursuing the national board exam. All the details on our institute site, catalystcoachinginstitute.com, or reach out. It's a big decision, so we'll set up some time and chat through anything you're trying to figure out or ponder about your career, potential ideas, that kind of thing. Email is results@catalystcoachinginstitute.com. And now, it's time to be a catalyst. This is Catalyst Coaching's Dr. Brad Cooper. Make it a great rest of your week, and I'll speak with you soon on the next episode of the Coaching Lab podcast, or maybe over on the YouTube coaching channel.